Hello, how's everybody doing today? If you could do me a favor in the chat box, if you could just let me know that you can hear me, that would be great. And where you're listening from, that would be fantastic too. Thank you so much. Awesome, awesome. Okay, all right. So let's get started. Okay, and if you have questions for me, my Zoom audience, if you have questions for me, you can put those in the chat box for me, and I will be happy to answer them for you. If you have questions for me and you're watching on YouTube, then you can put those in the chat box there, and I'll be happy to answer those too. All right. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at the first question I got. I don't know whether I can answer it, but I'll read it. What will I learn from your book? Can you tell me? I can build an entire startup from your book. I'm also reading many more books, about 47 in total. Congratulations. 17 of them are yours. And apart from those, I have around 46 or 47 more books. I'm reading those as well, including the Brand Gap, ZAG, Brand Flip, and many others. There's also the Blue Ocean Strategy, many other books, right? Brand Identity, How to Tell a Story. Yes, that's storytelling book too. The way you explain things is similar to how I understand them. So tell me, are there more books I should read? I will continue reading them. I'm sure there are. You can just go through my list of 17 books, and those are pretty good. Let me make a bigger point. Yeah, reading is great. In fact, somebody just wrote me in my paid group yesterday that apparently reading is the number one indicator of success in life, not your parents, interestingly enough, but reading. So I found that stat kind of interesting. So yeah, keep reading. However, at some point, we got to do something. We got to get on with it. We got to get started and we've got to learn. And the best way to learn is by doing, by getting out there, trying things, making some mistakes, picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, and doing it again and again and again. So that's where I stand on this. So yeah, there's a ton you can learn from my book. It's a whole bunch of lessons about all different phases of the whole startup experience, from raising money to running your company to dealing with co-founders. You name it, it's in there. It's an excellent book. There are other excellent books you can read, but you got to do something. You got to get started. You've got to move, because you can read until the cows come home and you'll still be where you are today. So, anyways, that's my thought. So let's go to the questions that we have. Okay, the next question we have: how can I pitch my startup idea to you to raise a small amount of funding? The answer is you can't. And I'm saying this, if you're trying to pitch me and you're expecting me to give you money for your startup, that's not what I do. I'm not an investor. I invest very, very sparsely in startups, I would tell you, and only when it's in my area of expertise, I would tell you. So no, I don't think that's going to be realistic. Unless you're just in a very specific space that I would invest in you. And even then, it would take a long time. So, okay. Okay, all right. Next question we have. Brett, we've already raised $3 million. Awesome. Congratulations. And that's me, by the way, saying congratulations. I'll read the rest of the question. That's great. Good for you. From private investors, and are now launching a campaign to raise an additional $3 million from family office sector. Okay, good for you. What would you say are the top three pieces of information family offices are looking for to be addressed in evaluating a startup investment? It's the same as any group of investors. What's the problem you're trying to solve? How do you solve it? Why are you significantly better than the competition? Do you have the right team to do this? Is the market big enough where I'm going to make money on this? They're looking for a significant return on their investment. All those types of things. So it's the same. It's absolutely no different one way or the other. It's a really good question, but you need to prepare the same way. The key with all of these pitches, by the way, and since you're in my Zoom group and you're asking the question, I do pitch deck reviews once a month. I'll be doing one in about 2 weeks. The key is usually the beginning of your pitch. Can you build an emotional connection with your audience? Are you explaining the pain your customers are in right now because they don't have your solution? And then how do you solve it and how great life is going to be for them after they use your solution? Those are usually the things that at least start building the emotional bridge between yourself and your audience. And if you can do that well, then the rest of your pitch deck is essentially going through the logical questions customers are going to have about your pitch. And that's essentially the way you do it. If you want to take this up another level, since you're raising a reasonable amount of money and you want to really get good at this, and you want to really nail your pitch and your pitch deck, then join my paid group, Zero to Pitch Gold. Costs all of $125 a month. You can join right now. You can quit anytime you want, and you'll get to work with me every single day of the week in my office hours, if you prefer. And there are courses in there as well. A great group of other CEOs doing the exact same thing as you. So since you sound like a pretty serious person, that's what I would recommend. Let's go to the next question we have. Awesome. I can't wait to have you in the paid group. Looking forward to it. All right, let's go to our next question. There are tips on how to pitch a product. In your opinion, is pitching a platform significantly different? No, I don't think it's much different. I think I will tell you something though. Here's the thing: when we pitch products, even when we pitch platforms, there's a common mistake that we all make, and that's we start going down the feature list of look at this great feature we have, look at that great feature we have, and we start delving down those features. Features aren't what sell. Interestingly enough, yes, it's great to have a feature list. Yes, it's great to have better features than everybody else, but it's the problem you're trying to solve, and it's how you solve it. It's the results of the features. What are the results of using your product? How does it make life better for your customers? Be them a retail customer, an industrial customer, a medical customer, whatever it might be. That's the key. Either way, it's a really good, insightful question. I like it. All right, let's go to our next question. Why you personally stop investing in startups? It's not true. You get tired of too many people soliciting? Or what do you invest in instead? What investments you like the most? Well, as I said, I very selectively invest in startups, only in companies that I understand. By the way, this is typical of most investors. They don't invest in random companies. They invest in companies that they understand. So I have a very narrow window of things that I understand really, really well, where I have a significant advantage. I use that advantage, and that's what I will invest in. And those companies have all done really well. If I go outside of my zone, I'm going to lose money. So I don't do that. And it's the same with my public investing too. I have a method to my madness of the stuff that I do in the public markets, and I've done really well as a public investor, and I stick to my knitting. I do what I do really, really well. I don't go outside of my lane. There's a great picture, I think, that Warren Buffett has in his office about the baseball player Ted Williams, who played, I think, in like the 1940s. And it's all about Williams was considered the best hitter in baseball history, maybe. And it was all about the zone of different pitches that were thrown at him and his batting average. In other words, how much how many of those pitches in different zones he would get for a hit rather than an out. Out meaning you lose, hit meaning you win. And it was essentially the whole message of the zones was hit the pitches that you can hit, that are right in your zone of success. That's what Warren Buffett has done over and over and over again in his career. And that's what good investors do too. So it's a little bit of a long-winded answer to your question, but that's what I try and do. And as long as I do that, I do quite well. So next question that we have. Should I target specifically angel investors, or what type of investors to get support for my startup? To solve the fact, okay, I think I'm not exactly sure where you're at in the process, but let me go through this question. Almost every single time I do an Ask Me Anything, I get a variation of this question. So let me go through kind of the simple steps of ways to think about this. There's kind of a convergence of things that need to happen for an investor to invest. It's got to be, as I said, in the right product area for them. It has to be in the right stage of investment for them. And then more often than not, geographically, it's important, especially for earlier stage companies. So you need all of these things to come together. So having said that, it sounds like you're just, from the way you're asking a question, you're just starting. And 99%, this may not make you feel good, but this is just life. So I'm just telling you the truth. I would say 99% or more. Maybe it's even higher than 99%, but let's just leave it at 99%. 99% of all new companies, all new startups, the way that they get started is with friends' money, their family's money, and their own money. That's usually the first group of people that puts money into a startup. Every company needs investors, even the ones that are self-funded, and that's where the money comes from. So that's usually going to be your first source of money. Most companies never raise a penny from venture capital or private equity people. They may take out loans, depending upon where you are in the world. Here in the United States, you can do small business loans sometimes, depending upon how you do it. I know there's strings attached to it, but that's typically how you get started. So it sounds like you're right at that beginning stage. You may not be attractive enough to the next group, which is angel investors, which typically say, oh, you've got to have some sort of progress. Or if you're going after a big idea, you have to have some sort of track record of success so that you're believable. Then to get beyond the angel investor, to get the venture capitalist, it's even further up the rung, where typically you'll have to have some revenue, typically, or even more progress, or even have more believability, and so forth and so on. Those are the rules. Okay, next question. Can we go to angels at my first mean pre-seed? Okay, I think what you're asking is, can you go and raise money from angels? Maybe. Somewhat, the other thing I would tell you is there's a feedback loop in all of this, right? If we go to angel investors and we keep hearing no time after time after time after time from angel investors, then, and the no's are credible, then maybe we're learning something about what we're hearing. Maybe we're learning that these angels aren't the right people for what we're doing. And maybe we have to go backwards to friends and family. If the feedback is, hey, you're too early, and you keep hearing that over and over again, that's telling you something. So it's very hard in this type of format to know, whether you can go to angels or not at this stage. If you're just starting out and you need money to get started, that first, whatever it is, that first few $1,000, $10,000, 20, whatever it might be, to get started, typically, that's going to be your money, your friend's money, your family's money. Whatever you can cobble together between all of you, that's how you're going to get started. So what if we have pre-orders, somebody's asking? Well, pre-orders help. The more proof you have, the easier it's going to be to raise money. So ideally, the further up this tree we go from, if the bottom of the tree, the base is friends and family, the next rung is angel investors, and then the next rung after that is venture capitalists. The further up the tree we go, the more credibility, the more traction we need. Traction meaning revenue. So if we don't have revenue, what's the next best thing? Well, pre-orders would be pretty darn good. And that may do it, depending upon what you're trying to do and the opportunity and everything else. It's hard to judge based on this type of a format. But yeah, that's going to be better than not having that. So if I don't have that, what would be the next best thing? Well, it'd be maybe a working prototype that I am starting to solicit feedback from customers on. That might be the next best thing. And so forth and so on. Maybe before that, maybe it would be I've got this great dynamite team that's really good. You get the idea. Let's go to the next question. Before I have product market fit, should I focus on one feature or more? Oh, wow. This is a really good question. This I'm going to give a general answer, and I'm going to, since we were talking about books at the beginning, I'm going to give a great book recommendation on this idea, and then I'll give you my thoughts. The book idea is called The Innovator's Dilemma by Clayton Christensen, late professor at Harvard University. It's kind of considered a Silicon Valley Bible of a way to build a startup, at least on the product side of things. It's very contrarian in thinking, but it's really good. So dovetailing to what Christensen says and my own thoughts, you don't have to have a product with 27 features to sell it. It can be a very bare bones, in other words, very limited feature set of products. However, and this is the key. Actually, there are two keys to this. Let's talk about the product key first. However, on the product side of things, the features that you have in the product, be it one feature or two features or whatever, have to be of significant value to your customer base, and you have to have something that they can't get anywhere else. So it has to be something so good in these significant features that even though there are flaws in the product, customers don't care and they still want to work with you. That's the first key. The second key is market choice, because product market fit isn't just the product. It's the whole thing. Because let's say I have a great product and I target the wrong market where customers don't want to buy it. I'm dead. Or I can't market effectively to those customers. I'm dead. Or it takes too long in the buying cycle for them to buy the product. I'm dead. Or I'm going head to head with NVIDIA in a market that NVIDIA cares about, for example. I'm dead. So you need all of this to work. It's a great question. Can I use competitors in the market to gain traction? I'm not exactly sure what that means. Maybe my last answer kind of helps with that. The idea is to do something different than your competitors. It's what I call the hit 'em where they ain't strategy, since we're using baseball references today. That one goes all the way back to the early 20th century of Wee Willie Keeler, small little baseball player, about 5'8", but made it to the Baseball Hall of Fame on this whole strategy of keeping your eye clear and hitting it where they ain't. And the idea is, I know the whole field, which is your market, and your competitors, where they sit in the whole field, and I'm going to go where the competitors aren't. That's the idea. All right, let's go to the next question on our list here. Brett, do you think that VCs provide the value they claim, or would you recommend bootstrapping and hiring high caliber business advisors? Well, I don't think it's an either or. VCs provide a very important service, and that service is money. That's why you should work with venture capitalists, is because you need large sums of money. And the only way to get those large sums of money is from them. Now, having said that, not everybody, as I said before, that pitches VCs gets money. 99% of all startups never raise anything from VCs. You're more likely than not to get money. Here's the stat, not to scare you, but here's the stat. One out of every 100 face-to-face meetings that a VC takes with a startup ends with them giving them money. So for every 100 startups they meet with, only one gets money. That's it. So I always looked at it when I was raising money is that I had to knock on a lot of doors to be able to raise money. It's not easy to raise money. That's kind of the point. So this isn't like, hey, they're going to give you the value add is the money. Anything beyond that is gravy, quite frankly. If they do something that really helps you strategically, fantastic. If they make introductions for you, great. But my expectation is they're just going to write me a check. That's it. And hopefully not screw me up. Those two things. So when you're bootstrapping, it's a decision to make, right? Bootstrapping means you have limited funds. It's your money. You may go slower typically if you bootstrap, but it may be the right thing for you to do. High quality business advisors, maybe, but really the CEO and the team runs the company, not anybody else. That's the other thing to keep in mind. Okay, let's go to our next question. What is the fundamental difference between angels and VCs? Okay, I've given various answers to this question already today in terms of kind of like angel investors are typically high net worth individuals who invest in startups. They may have been a CEO or an executive at a startup already been successful at the startup already. That's what they do. And they typically invest smaller sums of money than VC. So typically the hierarchy is friends and family for your first round of funding, maybe the small amount of money just to get the company started. Then the next group would be angel investors. And then the final group after that would be venture capitalists. So typically the way to think about it is what size of check do you need? And where's your company at? And hopefully those things intersect. Okay. There is a problem. I want to raise around $30,000 in funding from an angel investor. You said the traction is needed first, especially in sales. I've already built my MVP with my own money to produce it. I need to do private labeling in China, which requires around 5,000 pieces. In that situation, I will have to jump from $1,000 directly to 30 because the OEM manufacturer will only produce a minimum of 5,000. That is a challenge. Okay, well, you have to find people that are interested. $30,000. I'm saying this in the world of raising money is a relatively small amount of money. I know it may be a huge amount of money, but it's a smaller amount of money. So you have to find people that are willing to write you that size of check. Typically, I would tell you for that amount of money, it's typically going to be friends and family and your own money. Typically, I would tell you without knowing anything else. Maybe you can find an angel investor, but remember, the return is really important here. So for somebody coming in, if they're going to write you that check of $30,000 or multiple people, they're looking for ideally about a 30x return on their money. So if you're going to give them, let's say, 10% of your company for the $30,000, they have to get back 30 times that, right? So that's 9 million for the 30,000, which means your company has to be worth in their minds one day at least 90 million. So if your company doesn't have that potential, at least, and probably much larger, quite honestly, your chances of raising money from an angel investor go way down. All the stuff has to work. Okay. Anyways, I hope this helps. And, that's just the way that it is. I mean, you have to kind of look at what you're doing. It may not be that your company is right for these types of investors. And that's what you have to be really honest with. 30 and X in 10 years. Well, yeah, but it's going to probably be even more than that, because 10 years from now, you also have to look at, okay, I'm going to have to get the cash flow positive, right? At some point, or I'm going to need more investment at some point. How much more investment are you going to need? Typically, your angels might get out earlier than that, depending upon who they are. So all these things come into play here. And you're asking in an IPO, no company can IPO with a valuation of $90 million. At least here in the United States, just doesn't happen unless it's like a shell company and goes out that way. Not going to happen. So you got a lot of work to do, to make this thing go. I don't know about Pakistan. Sorry. I don't know what the market is there. And I don't know what the dynamics are there to make this happen. Okay, let's go to our next question. Okay. I'm building something in the area of attribution and conversion. A pivot opportunity appeared multiple times as feedback from potential customers. How to decide on pivoting or focusing on initial? Okay, that's almost beyond what I can answer. In this question, you have to be really careful with pivots. Is what I would tell you. I get very nervous about pivoting. At the first sign of a mistake or a first sign of trouble. So it's challenging. I did a video on this, which you can find on my YouTube channel. So if you search for pivot, you should be able to find it. And you can watch that video, and that'll help you more. But that's kind of a really broad question. I don't want to lead you astray. But to me, you have to look at, do you have the ability to do it? How much money is it going to take? How long is it going to take? Because it's like a whole new business. So you almost have to go through that whole thought process to go do this. Pivots don't solve everything. But remember, every company pivots. Now, what do I mean? That's the size of the pivot, right? We all make small little adjustments in the business. Those are pivots. If we're talking about a huge adjustment, we're going from something here to something way over there. That's a totally different thing. Just be careful. Because now suddenly you got to look at, do I have the right people to do this? How much money is it going to take? What does the marketing look like? Do I have all these things right to be able to go off in this new area? How do I pitch you? Well, you can join my free group of startup CEOs, Zero to Pitch. It's a good time for me to plug that. And there's a link to that below here that you can find on that, and you can pitch me that way. That's a way to do this. So you can do that, and that'll work. You can pitch me. I do pitch deck reviews about once a month, and I'll be happy to review your pitch deck. If you're looking for an investment from me, probably not going to happen unless there's some miracle here. And I wouldn't expect that, to be honest with you. So if your idea is to get review of your pitch, that's a great way to do it. If you're really serious about this, you want to take it up to the next level, join my paid group of startup CEOs, Zero to Pitch Gold. There's a link as well on the site for that. And you can go to the Zero to Pitch site and find the link there. Costs all of $125 a month. You can quit at any time. And I have daily office hours. All right. Okay, let's go to the next question. We have an MVP and a good MOU. Good for you. Won a pitch competition. Awesome. And we need funds to complete the product and capture the market early. Is it good to raise funds now? P.S. The product needs huge capital to build. Well, here's the thing. We have a lot of high capital products, which suggests to me you're doing something in hardware of some sort. You have to find what I'll call shortcuts, to be able to get there. And by shortcuts, I almost mean like proof points. What are we going to do that shows what we're doing already? In other words, just lost everything. That's scary. Give me 1 second here. That is scary, scary. I don't know whether I just lost my stream or not. Oh, that's interesting. I've never had that happen before. So let me see if I can find it. Give me one question. If YouTube audience is still watching, I apologize for whatever the hell just happened there. Wow. That is wild. What do we do? Okay. There we are. We're back. Okay, good. So sorry about that. That was weird. But okay, there we go. Okay, so I've got questions again too. So that was pretty weird what happened there. So anyways, that's all my fault. So okay, anyways, let's go back. So okay, so anyways, if you've got a lot of, so the idea is if you're, go back to your question about what happens if I need huge amount of funds. So by shortcuts, in other words, what can we prove without building the whole product? Can we build something in software to prove what we have in hardware, which is going to save a lot of money? And then you can show that to investors. Say, look, we've proven it already in software. Almost every successful hardware company I've worked with has done a variation of this, including mine. Everybody does it. Most successful company I've ever worked with, which is worth multiple billions. This is how they got started, was proving what they had in software. They went to hardware, then they went to a prototype, and then finally to the full production product. So find ways to reduce the amount of money. That'll help you in terms of being able to raise the funds that you need. If you need money, you need money. There's nothing you can do about that. But the idea is think risk reduction, both for yourself and for your investors. That'll help you a lot. Okay, what are the right reasons to seek funding? You need money. It's not any more complicated than that. That's reality. If you need money, you need money. That's it. So if you need the money, that's when you go raise money. If you don't need money, it was interesting. A client of mine that I'm working with is a really great business. We were going through his financial model. And when we started working together, part of the thought process was that he needed to raise money almost instantly. But we started going through the financial model, and he's generating cash and significant amounts of cash. So my question to him was, well, why do we need to raise money right now? And the answer is we don't. So we're not going to. Company's in good shape. You don't need the money. Don't raise the money. It's just going to give you a heartache. So the right reason to raise money is because you need the money. And it's just a matter of how much. And the typical way to think about this is you want to understand your whole financial plan in terms of how much money you're going to need for the life of the company. And then you want to have, if you're raising money, you want to have money at least in 2-year chunks. And then it's 2-year chunks of milestones, I should say. So what's the next significant milestone I'm going to get to? And hopefully that's about 2 years from now, because if you're raising money in too short of a time period, it increases your risk of not being able to raise the money. And it also makes it harder for investors to invest in you. All right, let's go to the next question on our list. I have requested many times to make a video on how to use Crunchbase. Can you please make one? I don't know that I'm going to do that, to be honest with you, as a video. I may do a webinar at some point on how to find investors or something like that. So stay tuned. Okay, let's go to the next question. So if we ask 100 VCs, we have a chance to get funded. Well, that's I'll tell you what. You put a smiley face on that as well, but that's the way I always thought about it. The numbers, the more investors you talk to, the more the numbers turn in your favor. That's the way to think about it. If you only talk to a few investors, I'm going to have a video come out. I think it's next week. If I'm not, I think actually in 2 weeks. I'm sorry, in 2 weeks I got a video coming out on where I answered this question as part of the video. But the reality is that there are too many reasons investors say no, and most of the reasons have nothing to do with you. So you've got to get the numbers to work for you, is the way I've always thought about it. And the more investors you talk to, the more likely you are that you're going to land upon somebody that says yes, assuming you have all the other things working for you. All right, let's go to the next question. We've built a, oh, I'm sorry. Question before that. I'm reading some of your articles online and other pieces of your advice. Is most of this written / edited completed by you? Or for your business, do you use the help of copywriters? No, 100% me. I enjoy writing. I come from a family of writers. My mom wrote 2 published books. My brother, I think, has written like 5 or 6, something like that. My dad, before he passed away, was trying to write. So writing, I guess, is in my blood. I enjoy it. It's fun. So it's all me. Thanks for the question. Next question. We built game-changing technology to speed up simulations only. 10 big players need this. With such a niche market, what is the best way to break in? Wow. And you've only got 10 big players. Well, this goes to the problem of competing against, and I'm imagining there are other competitors that are already serving the 10 big players. So if I know I've got 10 customers, right? That's it. And they're making, I don't know what percent of the market, but let's say they make up 90% of the market. And I'm your competitor. I'm not going to let you get any of those customers. I'm going to do everything in my power to stop you. And I'm going to compete really heavily against the bigger competitors that are already in this marketplace. So it's a tough task that you've taken on. So I would be thinking about, what are ways to come at this indirectly? If there are 10 big players, maybe there are 100 smaller players that maybe make up a smaller percentage of the market, and they may be your way to get started. Because competing against the bigger players, it's going to be really difficult. You're going to probably get squashed, I would tell you. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. And the only caveat I would say is, and even then, it's going to be really difficult. I've done videos on this. I've written about this. Even then, even if you have something like that's 1,000 times better or totally game-changing product, maybe then you'd have a chance, but that's it. Big competitors, especially ones that are well-funded, will always find a way, if they are being directly attacked, to compete against the competitor. Always. That's the lesson. Were you having traction when you first started raising money? No. I was very fortunate. I had a good reputation. I'd already made a lot of people a lot of money when I started raising money for my company. Even then, it was really difficult to raise the money for multiple reasons. So no, we didn't have any traction. I just had a really good team around me. That really helped, having a really good experienced team, especially in the market that we were going after and the business we were trying to build. That really helped. So that was how we raised our money, was we had a good team. But even then, 63 investors passed on investing in my company. It wasn't easy to raise the money. We had to find people that knew exactly what we were trying to do, believed in what we were trying to do, because most people, what we were trying to do just didn't register. It was very contrarian, what we were trying to do based on what everybody else was trying to do. But we believed in it. We stuck to our guns, and we were able to find investors for the initial money that we raised, which was a significant amount. We raised $12 million. So it wasn't easy, but that's the answer. So we were able to do it. I've worked with other people that have been able to do it as well. But usually you need this combination of things, a very big market, which we had. The total available market we were going after at the time was $60 billion. So you have this massive market that you're going after. You have to have a idea which made a huge amount of sense, at least to the investors that got it, which we did. And then the third thing is you have to have a team that's capable of pulling it off and a track record which says, hey, we're going to bet on you, even though you've got nothing to show but just this pitch deck. That's what we needed to be able to raise significant funding. Now, if you think about that, that's essentially what you're selling to friends and family. But friends and family are forgiving, right? They're not professional investors, so it's a different deal with them. Just closed our first round of funding. Thanks for all your advice. You're welcome. Glad to have helped. Do you think the quality of members in your zero to pitch gold community, I assume that's what you're talking about, makes it a place where I could find potential angel investors for my concept too? No, I don't. If you're looking for angel investors inside of my community, you're looking in the wrong place. The community is other CEOs, other people just like you who are trying to raise money for their startups and grow their startups. That's what people are there for. They're not there. Excuse me, let me take a step back. For help on their pitch decks, I should say. They are not there looking for investors inside of the community. You can do that. There are ways to do this in terms of finding investors. It is not an unsolvable problem. So I hope that helps. All right. Let's see. If you have any other questions, please put them in the chat box. I have time for one or two more questions if you have them. So put them in there, and I'll be happy to answer them. Chat box on Zoom or YouTube, and I'll be happy to do that. And with that, I'm also going to, while we're waiting for questions to build, if there are any, I will put in another plug for my two groups. There's a free group, free. Doesn't get any better than that, right? To have free group for life, zero to pitch. It is my free group for startup CEOs. There are courses in there. There's a community in there which you can ask and answer questions of. There's about 1,600 people in the group right now. All you have to do is there's a link below the video, I believe, on my YouTube group. All you have to do is just click that link, hop on over, answer a few questions, and you're in for life. If you want to take it up another notch and you're really serious about wanting to get good really quickly on your pitch in your pitch deck, and you want to work with me even on a daily basis, because I have daily office hours. It is noon here in California. In 3 hours, I will have office hours. I have office hours every single day for about an hour or so, where I work with CEOs on their pitches and their pitch decks. You can join that community, Zero to Pitch Gold. Costs all of $125 a month. You can leave anytime you want. There are even better courses there, even more detailed courses there. And there's a group of very supportive CEOs just like you who are going through the same things that you are, who can really help you. just like me. And you get my help too, by the way, every single day. So anyways, with that, let me answer the last couple of questions we have. If I can't speak English well, am I going to be able to pitch to English speaking people? Yeah, you're right. I appreciate that, what you're saying. And yeah, you're going to have to figure that one out. Or you're going to have to speak to people that speak your language. Because yeah, if you can't communicate, communication is everything. If you can't communicate, it's going to be very, very difficult to raise your money. Sorry. Other CEOs aren't great potential investors. They like to create things. They like to give life to new companies. Yeah, but they're busy with their own companies. And usually most of them are focused on their own thing and they don't have huge amounts of money to go invest in your company. So if that's what you're looking in the wrong place, yes, there are CEOs and I've seen ecosystems like this, but usually they've already had success, where they will invest in each other's companies and maybe they're starting another one. But if you're looking at first time CEOs, most of these people don't have huge sums of money to go do what you're talking about doing. So you're looking in the wrong place. All right, let's go to our likely last question today. How do I balance between building and getting early signals / early feedback? Okay, this is getting to be a good question here. Example, I can build feature X or I can ask around about feature X. Okay, and it looks like you're in my office. If you're in my office hours for Zero to Pitch Gold, let me just check and see whether that's what you joined or not. Sorry, let's see if I get a message for this or not. I have a feeling you joined Zero to Pitch. Office hours are only for my paid community, not the free community. So in the free community, you get this once a week. If I have time to do it. So I can answer as best I can these questions, but office hours are in Zero to Pitch Gold. They are in Zoom meeting format, so we actually get to talk to each other, go back and forth, etc. It is a much better way, to be able to help people than this. I do as much as I can in these formats, but there's a limitation to them. So yeah, you got to go to the next level. The next level is Zero to Pitch Gold. So if you look, there's a way to get there from the About page of Zero to Pitch. You can click on that link and join Zero to Pitch Gold and be in my office hours then. And then there's a link in the community section for office hours in the classroom for office hours there. So how does the potential investor look like then? An old retired man? Isn't a startup CEO what he or she does to understand my target looks like then? Well, they can be old. One of my investors was 78 years old. So sure, they can be old, they can be young, they can be anywhere. It's more this intersection that I was talking about. So if you're looking at the early money that you're trying to raise, which is typically going to be friends and family and your own money at the beginning, small amount of money. If you get beyond that, angel investors, then venture capitalists, and they can be all sorts of shapes, sizes, and ages. But they have to have this intersection, right? They have to be interested in what you're doing. Not all investors are created the same. The second thing, after being interested in what you're doing, is they have to be interested in investing in the stage of investment that you're at, right? There's early stage investors, there's middle stage investors, there's late stage investors, and there's all sorts of differentiations between them. So if you're trying to talk to somebody that invests later stage, in your early stage investment won't work. Finally, geography does matter, especially for early stage startups. Not as much as it used to, but it still matters. If you are just like this fellow who was talking, said, and he is in Pakistan and he's looking for investors here in the United States, that's going to be really difficult. It's super hard to do that. Is it possible? Sure it is. And there are Pakistanis here in the United States. In fact, I had a Pakistani on my board, interestingly enough, of my company. And those are the people that maybe you could get to invest, but even then it's going to be super hard because they're there and you're there, right? Totally different parts of the world. But those are the people I'd look for, are people like that. It's super difficult. So you've got to get all these things. So it's better to find people. So if you're in Pakistan, look in Pakistan, as hard as it is, and then start branching out from Pakistan. If you're in the United States, look in the United States. If you're in Europe, look in Europe, and so forth and so on. It's going to be easier for you. So I hope that helps. All right. So I think we're done for today. Thanks as always a lot of fun to do these. I hope this is helpful to everybody in terms of what we're doing. And I look forward to our next go around on this, which may be next week again. Anyways, thanks a lot. Take care. And I will talk to